I loved seeing Tasha Yar one last time in Star Trek: The Next Generation's finale. When Star Trek: The Next Generation series finale, All Good Things, aired in May 1994, it was more than just a farewell to Captain Picard and his crew. It was a love letter to 7 years of adventures, friendships, and heartbreaking goodbyes. For me, one of the most touching surprises of that two-part finale was seeing Lieutenant Natasha Tasha Yar again, if only briefly. She wasn't just a background face or a casual mention. Her appearance carried emotional weight and served as a poignant reminder of what TNG had lost long before it reached its glorious conclusion. Tasha's return wasn't just fan service. It was a narrative gift, a chance to see Denise Crosby embody the character one last time in the Prime timeline, not as a Romulan commander, not in a holographic recording, but as the bright, determined security chief who was there when it all began. The shock of losing Tasha Yar. To appreciate why her cameo meant so much, you have to remember the context of Tasha Yar's original departure. In Season 1's Skin of Evil, she was killed in a shockingly abrupt and, frankly, underwhelming way, struck down by Armus, a malevolent oil-slick creature. It was one of the earliest examples of Star Trek killing off a main cast member, and it stung. Tasha's death felt almost random, and while the episode's intention was to show the unpredictability of life in Starfleet, many fans, myself included, felt robbed of the chance to truly explore her character. She was written as strong, resilient, and courageous, a survivor of a violent childhood on Turkana 4, but her arc ended far too soon. Yes, Denise Crosby would return in Yesterday's Enterprise, Redemption, and as Commander Sella, but that first season loss remained a lingering sadness. Seeing her again in the finale was like a brief healing of an old wound. All Good Things, and its brilliant time-hopping structure, All Good Things, is widely considered one of the best Star Trek finales ever made, and for good reason. The story sends Jean-Luc Picard leaping between 3 time periods: the past right before TNG's pilot episode Encounter at Farpoint, the present, the show's now, and a possible future decades later. In the past timeline, the Enterprise D is still new, the crew are strangers, and the sense of anticipation is palpable. It's here that we see Tasha Yar, alive, confident, and unaware of her fate. She doesn't appear for long, but her presence is electric because we, the audience, know something the characters don't. This bright young officer's future will be tragically short. When Picard interacts with her, there's a quiet tenderness in the way he speaks, as if part of him is savoring the chance to see her again. This wasn't just an old captain addressing a junior officer, it was an old friend revisiting someone he lost too soon. Denise Crosby's poise and the ghost of Season 1. What struck me most was how effortlessly Denise Crosby slid back into Yar's skin, even after years of absence from that version of the character. She embodied the same upright stance, the professional composure, and that slightly guarded smile. Her scene didn't need to be long. It was a reminder of what could have been, the adventures Tasha might have shared with the crew had she survived. When she walks beside Picard on the bridge in that first season uniform, it's as if the camera is letting us glimpse into an alternate timeline where Yar was still there for the Borg encounters, the Klingon diplomacy, the moral quandaries, and the inner growth the rest of the cast experienced. That's why her inclusion in the finale worked so well. It wasn't about rewriting history, it was about honoring it. A farewell that wasn't overly sentimental. The beauty of Tasha's reappearance was that TNG didn't overdo it. There was no drawn-out emotional monologue, no special goodbye scene, because in that moment for Yar and everyone else in that timeline, nothing unusual was happening. She was simply there, part of the crew, doing her job. The emotional punch came from us knowing this was the last time we'd see her in that form. The restraint made it all the more powerful. It let the audience feel the nostalgia and loss without the script forcing it down our throats. In many ways, All Good Things used her exactly as she was in the pilot, an integral member of the team, competent, reliable, and brave. The symmetry with Yesterday's Enterprise. One reason Yar's appearance resonated so deeply for me is that it felt like the bookend to Yesterday's Enterprise, arguably one of TNG's most beloved episodes. In that story, the timeline shifts and Yar is alive again, serving on a battle-hardened Enterprise C. When she learns she died a meaningless death in the original timeline, she chooses to go back with the C's crew, sacrificing herself in battle to give her life meaning. That choice made her death heroic in a way Skin of Evil never did. But yesterday's Enterprise was still an alternate timeline that Yar didn't survive to the series' end. All Good Things gave us something different. It let us remember her in the context of the real first season, not an alternate history. It was a subtle but important distinction. This was our Tasha, not a variant, not a Romulan half-daughter, but the original. What her scene meant for Picard. While the finale focused on Picard's journey through time and his effort to solve the anti-time anomaly, his reunion with Yar, even though she didn't know it was a reunion, added an emotional layer to his arc. Picard had always carried the weight of command heavily, and part of that burden was losing crew members under his watch. Seeing Tasha again, especially in the context of preventing a universe-ending paradox, must have been bittersweet. He couldn't tell her what he knew, but you can almost see in Patrick Stewart's eyes that Picard was cherishing every moment. It was as if the Q trial that had begun in Encounter at Farpoint was coming full circle, with Picard not only defending humanity, but also being given the personal gift of revisiting moments and people from his past. A gift for the fans. Tasha Yar's cameo might have been only a few minutes of screen time, but for longtime fans, it was priceless. It wasn't just about nostalgia. It was about acknowledgement. The show was saying, yes, she mattered. Yes, she was part of this family. And because the finale's structure was about beginnings and endings colliding, her presence reinforced that TNG was more than just the sum of its later, more polished seasons. It reminded us of the scrappy, sometimes awkward, but always ambitious first season, the one that dared to introduce characters like Tasha, who felt fresh and unlike anyone from the original series. Why it still matters today. Looking back, I realize her appearance also speaks to a broader truth about Star Trek. The past is never truly gone. The franchise has always revisited characters, events, and even starships from its history. It thrives on connection, the threads that link one era to another. Tasha Yar's cameo in All Good Things works because it's not a gimmick, it's organic to the story. It uses the finale's time-hopping premise to enrich character relationships, not just to show off clever writing tricks. In an age when TV finales sometimes lean too heavily on spectacle or shock value, TNG's farewell stands out for using its surprises to deepen emotional resonance. Tasha's return is a masterclass in how to honor a character without overshadowing the main narrative. The final goodbye. When the credits rolled on All Good Things, I knew that was the last time we'd see that Tasha Yar. Denise Crosby has reprised roles in Star Trek Online, and the Yar legacy has been referenced in novels and fan discussions, but that brief scene remains her true final bow in the Prime timeline. It's fitting that she was part of TNG's